Live from Chicago's #1 news. ABC7 Eyewitness News at 5 starts right now.
Breaking news for you. Tornadoes and severe weather touching down right across Illinois. Residents seeking shelter as homes are leveled.
And the show goes on at Soldier Field after fans and players scramble for shelter from the storm. Good evening, everyone. There have been 3 confirmed deaths reported in Illinois.
That's right. Funnel clouds have been seen all across Illinois and northwest Indiana. They were reported in Coal City, Illinois, in Wilmington, in Frankfort, in Braceville, Manhattan, as well as Goodland, Indiana. And ABC7 Eyewitness News viewers sending us this video. Check this out. You can see what appears to be a funnel cloud churning through an area in Coal City. The kind of destruction that we've seen all over the state of Illinois tonight. And viewers have been sending us photos all day. Right here, this is a picture from Washington, Illinois, near Peoria, of a car flipped over in a sea of debris. And we have storm chasers at Forever Chasin', that's a company, sharing this picture with us on Twitter of a tornado near Roanoke, Illinois, and that is down in Woodford County. And take a look at this picture right here. Very dramatic shot coming to us from Anthony Coury in Peoria, one of the hardest hit areas. You're looking at an image of a tornado that is on the ground with houses looking very close by.
Now, we have been following the severe weather since it started. We have a series of reports for you tonight all across Illinois and in our area.
But let's begin with ABC7's Phil Schwartz and Jerry Taft, both in the Weather Center tonight. Guys, what do you have?
You know what, Ravi, we've been watching this throughout the entire day. The good news, the storms are over, but we are still dealing with some very high winds gusting at times to over 60 miles per hour. We have a high wind warning in effect until 8 o'clock for much of the area. North and west, we do not have a high wind warning. We have a wind advisory, but we continue to see winds gusting at times to over 60 miles per hour. The current wind gust at O'Hare is 43. We have a gust of 51 right now at Midway and a gust of 54 in Gary. Earlier, just within the last hour, we had gusts over 60 miles per hour at Midway. We had a gust earlier in Rochelle to 67 miles per hour. So while the thunderstorms are over, the strong winds continue. Taking a look at high-resolution Doppler, you can see some pretty good rain still falling up in especially Lake County in Illinois. Most of this is light. None of it is severe. The severe thunderstorms have ended, at least for us. Now, I want to show you this picture. This was at about 11 a.m. These are the severe thunderstorms that were moving into the area. But you see this cell here in that developing hook. That was the tornado east of Peoria. Watch as we put this into motion, how this cell lifted to the northeast. There it goes, right across Will County, right up towards Gary, and then out over the lake. That is the storm that produced the tornadoes as it lifted to the northeast. The good news, the severe weather is over. The bad news is we continue to deal with some very strong winds. Now, with a look at some of the storm reports we've seen so far and kind of the evolution of this event, let me go to my partner, Jerry Taft.
All right, Phil, first of all, I'd like to start with, we were on the air last night after the USC-Stanford game, and it was pretty well telegraphed at that point that we were definitely going to see some pretty heavy storms. At that point on the news at 11 p.m., we were in an area of moderate risk for thunderstorms. After we were off the air, after midnight, it changed to a high-risk area, which is certainly unusual for this time of year. And I showed this on the news last night, and I highlighted this area north of Kansas City, north of St. Louis, as the area that it will probably be developing and moving to the north and east. And if you take a look at the radar, you can see generally in northern Missouri and then across through St. Louis, this is where the heavy storms eventually developed and then roared through the Peoria and the Chicago area. And of course, we did have plenty of damage associated with these storms. Most of these storms started over here in right around Washington. Tornadoes reported just before, before about 10 o'clock in the morning, and that was at 11 o'clock, and they continue to move to the north and east. By the time they got into our local area, we had tornado, what happened?
Still there. There you go.
I'm still there? Well, I'm not here on the camera, so I can't really point at what we're doing here. So back to you guys. There's nothing I can really do.
All right, Jerry. All right, Jerry, thank you so much. Now let's go to one of the hardest hit areas, Washington, Illinois. There you see it right there, 50 miles southwest of Chicago. Eyewitness News reporter Evelyn Holmes standing by with the devastation there. Evelyn?
Well, Ravi and Karen, officials with the Illinois Emergency Management Office have confirmed one tornado-related fatality here in the town of Washington. And the town of Washington truly devastated by the tornado that touched down here this afternoon. As night falls, residents here, all they're simply able to do is try to salvage what they can. Now, that tornado, that twister, swept through the central Illinois town, basically leveling everything in its path. Now, when the tornado warnings turned to reality, most residents sought shelter wherever they could. When the moments passed after the tornado, those who were not injured emerged to find total devastation. Now, for the most part, the town of Washington is on lockdown. State police, along with fire personnel, have been posted at the streets, the entrances really to the town. They've been letting some residents in, but for the most part, as night begins to fall and folks really can't see, it's become unsafe. So what they want is they want people to leave the town, make sure it's secure. They have emergency personnel still in the town trying to secure power lines, also communications, and also searching for those who are still missing. Now, we have confirmed that dozens of people were injured. Some are at trauma centers in nearby towns. Some are even in surgery being treated for their particular injuries. But at this hour, only one confirmed fatality as a result of the tornado that touched down here in Washington. Reporting live from the central Illinois town of Washington, Illinois, Evelyn Holmes, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, some destruction. All right, Evelyn, thank you. The storm did cause a tornado to touch down in the area, damaging several homes. One man says that he and his family took shelter in the basement, and when the storm passed, he found that his home was destroyed. High winds also knocked down power lines and large trees, blocking some roads, and you can also see debris strewn across streets in the area.
Now, one of the first areas that we heard about having great damage reports was Coal City, Illinois, and Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Gallardo there now for us live with the latest. Michelle?
Ravi and Karen, we are in an industrial area on the outskirts of Coal City near Broadway and Reed Road. I'm going to get out of the way just to show you this little microcosm of the damage that was caused by the tornado as it swept through Coal City earlier. This industrial area has 3 businesses on it. One of them is a powder coating company. That is what you're looking at behind us with that overturned semi and that partially destroyed building. There's also a transport company here, as well as the company that is in charge of transporting all of the school buses for this area. All of these businesses have severe damage to them, and really, again, this is just but a microcosm of what is going on here, because there are so many downed power lines and utility poles. All of the main roads accessing Coal City have been blocked off, and we have been unable to really reach most of these hardest hit damaged areas. However, we were able to get to one area earlier and speak to some residents, and this is what they told us about what they experienced when this tornado hit. Now, earlier we had there was city officials took out a camera crew to some of the devastated areas, and hopefully we're showing you some of that video now. Again, because access is blocked off, only one crew was allowed to go out there, and that is hopefully what we're showing you now. What city officials are telling us is that they have really extensive property damage in Coal City. About 100 buildings were affected, but the good news is that even with all of this extensive damage, the injuries have been kept to a minimum. We are told that so far they have reports of only 4 people injured in Coal City, none of them seriously, no fatalities, thank goodness. And just in terms of, earlier there had been reports about people trapped. We're told that really emergency officials had to help a few people get out of this one particular building in Coal City, but that nobody was completely entrapped and that everyone was able to self-extricate or evacuate either before the tornado hit or just in the immediate aftermath. So really, the good news is that even though there is devastating damage in terms of property, and a lot of what we're looking at right now looks really, really bad. I mean, and of course, this is what happens when a tornado hits. It is so random how it can completely devastate one side of the road while leaving the other one intact. But even though we've got all of this destruction, it is just property damage. We do only have 4 injuries reported in Coal City right now, and that is the most important thing at the end of the day. Officials telling us that they expect to have an update, a press conference with all of the latest on this at about 6 o'clock. And of course, once we get that latest information on their latest damage assessment, we will have that for you. Live in Coal City, I'm Michelle Gallardo, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Karen and Ravi, back to you.
Okay, Michelle, that high wind definitely starting to kick up there as well. And it was slow going earlier today on parts of the Eisenhower as cars tried to get through flooded areas safely. Many of those areas were under overpasses. And once through, it was often clear sailing until the next flooded area. Other roads throughout the Chicago area also saw high water, including in some Chicago neighborhoods. And today's severe weather outbreak did have a major impact on the Bears game, delaying it for more than 2.5 hours. Eyewitness News reporter Eric Hong is picking up part of our coverage on that tonight. Eric.
Karen, Ravi, it's been a very, very long afternoon for many Bears fans here at Soldier Field after they were forced from their seats in the stands as that severe weather rolled in. The game's still going on at this hour, but we've got fans leaving before the end of the game. Fans that, in fact, have been leaving for several hours now, many unwilling or unable to stay until the end of the game. For many, what happened on the field, the game itself, was secondary to what happened with the weather.
These images show fans packed into the Soldier Field concourse area after severe weather forced them from their seats.
Live picture right now outside of Soldier Field, fans leaving the stadium. We're told the game's still going on. It's important to note there are 2 distinct decision-making bodies here at Soldier Field. The officials at the stadium, Soldier Field officials in charge of deciding whether and when to move fans to safety as that severe weather rolled in, and the NFL in charge of deciding whether to postpone the game itself. As we mentioned, the game's still going on, fans leaving, many anxious to get home. We're live along the lakefront. Eric Hong, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Back to you, man.
All right, a lot of perspective there. Eric, thank you very much. Severe weather also impacting Frankfort in the southwest suburbs today. Our crews shooting video of the damage to some homes there. There's a lot of damage to the roofs around there, trees uprooted, windows broken as well, as you can see. Also damage to a nearby farm area. A silo has all kinds of damage there. Concrete blocks simply spread out right across, there you go, right across the ground. And tonight, people down in Manhattan, Illinois, reeling with the destruction there left behind by the storm. And there's ABC7 Eyewitness News reporter Sarah Schulte live now for us. Sarah, what's the latest from you?
Ravi, town officials say that there are reports of a funnel cloud that came through here about 10 to 1. Fortunately, it was only in a very, very small portion of Manhattan, pretty much right where we are, which is at Manhattan-Monee Road. It affected about 7 homes. One home we know was completely leveled. There was lots of structural damage to each of the homes. But one of the biggest problems right here in this area are the downed wires. There are about 3 towers that hold those high tension wires that completely collapsed. Matter of fact, ComEd told us just about 15 minutes ago that we needed to move our location because the wind still is really gusty out here. They were concerned that those big giant towers may collapse, some of them may collapse again. Fortunately, though, with all of this, no one was injured. All the occupants of those 7 homes got out quite quickly and went with relatives. One of the officials did say that what they did have to do was just the only thing they had to rescue was a horse. Other than that, all the people were able to get out and fortunately not injured at all. Again, right around here, the biggest problem here are the down wires, and it's now pitch black. So we do have emergency officials that are blocking off a couple roads to make sure that people do not come down these roads. Live in Manhattan, Sarah Schulte, ABC7 Eyewitness News. Ravi, Karen, back to you.
All right, more unbelievable pictures down there. Thanks so much, Sarah. Now, we've been getting some unbelievable pictures from you, our viewers. We want to thank you very much for the damage that's happened right around this entire state.
Eyewitness News reporter Alan Kraszewski is taking a look at some of the best pictures and video that we've gotten today, and he's joining us now in the studio. Alan.
Karen and Ravi, some of them are just breathtaking because those of you who've been sending us these photographs and videos, you are there on the scene, and we appreciate that either through Facebook or Twitter or also on our website, ABC7CHICAGO.com. This picture taken from Washington, Illinois. This is the town just to the east of Peoria, where it appears that is the hardest hit area at this point, where a reported twister swept through. As you can see, it overturned cars here. Evelyn Holmes was just there. She's telling us they have one confirmed fatality in this area, but as she told us, there are dozens of people injured there, and you can see why. As you look at this, it's just devastating. Those of us who've experienced this, whether it was in Plainfield or Lamont or Joliet, whatever, Crest Hill, you know when you see a scene like this, when you see a twister that has just come through and just cleared out people's lives off the face of the earth, it's just devastating to see this, and we hear that dozens of people are injured. We're not surprised to hear that, but it is just horrible. And now, of course, as nighttime has fallen there, taking a chance to get in there with rescue people or whatever and emergency personnel to truly look through to make sure that they've accounted for those who might be missing. All right, let's go closer to Chicago now. This is Coal City, just west of I-55. What clearly appears to be that tornado bearing down on that town, Coal City, just west of I-55. And then just move a little east of there. This is east of Coal City. This is a home that's in Diamond, Illinois. Diamond also off of I-55. High winds, or perhaps that twister we just saw did damage to this home here. You can see the garage door is gone, but they've lost completely the side of their garage here with all their belongings. They're just tossed out into the yard. Let's move a little further south of there. This is again off of I-55 into White, Illinois. You can see the semi here that's just blown right off the road with the trailer just crumpled in half. That storm line just rolling through there, going the whole way from Peoria, the whole way up to the Chicago area. We'll have more of your pictures and videos just minutes away from now. Let's go to Mike Kaplan, though, in the Weather Center. Mike?
Alan, one of the things we've been observing is how unusual is it to get a tornado in November in the Chicago area, and the National Weather Service keeps track of these things. And since 1951, so a little more than 60 years, there have been a grand total of 12 tornadoes. So you do a little math, that's about one every 5 years. And if you look a little more closely at this list, you'll see that half of those dozen occurred on the same day, back on November 12th of 1965. Here are the counties that were impacted. Back in 1951 on November 13th, Lake County, Indiana. Ford County, well south of Chicago, back on November 26th that same year. Then on November 12th and 65, DuPage, Cook, LaSalle, Grundy, Will, and Lake County, Indiana all had separate tornado touchdowns. Back in 1971, far southwest areas, Livingston County got hit. Lake, Illinois, back in 1975. Will County in 1984. Then you have to go all the way to 2010. From 1984, we didn't have another November tornado until 3 years ago. You may remember that one went through Caledonia in Winnebago and then far northwestern McHenry County. Minimal damage there, but one of the interesting things that we've noticed is tornadoes in November, rare as they are, have a tendency to be fairly strong, EF2 or greater, and that has to do with the amount of wind energy present. Phil, Jerry, everybody, we've been talking about this component called wind shear. That's a change of wind speed and direction with height. During fall, those wind shear values tend to be even higher than they are in late spring and summer, which is what we typically consider tornado season here in Chicago. So that's one of the reasons why some of these tornadoes, while infrequent in November, can be quite strong. Ravi?